It's the home opener, and we have a very fun and special show for you, but we got to get to it right away. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy New Year! At least that's the saying at Target Field for the home opener every single year from Stu Thornley and friends. This is Locked On Twins, and I'm your host, Brandon Warren. You can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE, and joining me as he does quite frequently, Mr. Dave Brown at Answer Dave Brown. Hey, this is your first opening day too. How excited are you?
Hi, Brandon. Well, I'm not going to be in Minneapolis for it, but it's I'm excited to lend an interview I did with Pablo Lopez, the Twins ace, in the bowels of Kauffman Stadium. Not that kind of cough, but
and not that kind of bowels either.
No, we didn't get into that, although we did get into a little bit of his medical history in terms of he went to medical school or was accepted to medical school. And as the story goes, was almost a doctor, but he was a pitcher instead.
Well, hey, without further ado, we'll do the first part. We'll take a pause. We'll do the second part, and then we will preview the opener. But again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is our opening day extravaganza. But without any further ado, here's your opening day starter for the Twins, Mr. Pablo Lopez. It's Pablo Day!
Where do you go to find decent Venezuelan food in the Twin Cities?
There is this place called Teque Arepa. I found it in the middle of the season when I kept looking and I figured it was about time to actually find a place and try it. So that's the one I found last year.
Tell me again, I heard arepa, but what's the first word?
Teque Arepa.
Okay. Can you yourself prepare proper arepas?
Yes, I can. I feel like growing up in a house, obviously Venezuelan, that's usually what we eat for breakfast. We have it for dinner sometimes. So it is very standard knowledge to know how to make it yourselves.
What's your go-to filling?
I like the classic just butter and shredded cheese. Okay. But then obviously shredded beef is also a good one. And if I'm feeling fancy, I like quail eggs with it.
Like scrambled quail eggs?
No, just boiled quail eggs because they're little with a little bit of like that pink sauce, which is ketchup and mayonnaise mixed together.
Oh, okay. Fancy. Do you have a go-to spot around the league? Do you know like every city where you go, okay, I can find Venezuelan food here? And is that important to you?
There is a few places. It's not like imperative for me to find a Venezuelan place everywhere we go. But obviously, if we go somewhere in Miami, there's a lot of places. I found a good one in Houston last year, and there's a really good one in the LA area. And actually, the Dodgers, they cater from that place whenever the visiting team plays there. So there is a lot of high quality Venezuelan food around the States.
How do you tell apart Minneapolis and St. Paul?
I haven't been to St. Paul really much, so I don't know how to tell them apart. I know the river's what separates them, but I haven't been much to the St. Paul area yet.
Is that because that's AAA and we don't want to go there?
No, I haven't found the time to go. I would say if I'm looking for a nice restaurant and the restaurant says St. Paul, then I would by all means try it and go to the area.
What's the biggest difference between you personally, Miami Pablo and Minnesota Pablo?
Ooh, the layers I wear when I go outside or to pitch.
Do you think that the Twins mascot TC Bear would eat Billy Marlin like a real bear would eat a salmon during spawning season?
1,000,000%. TC Bear would definitely find Billy the Marlin very
cromulent?
Yes, that's a good word for it.
The home run sculpture at Marlins Park. Now that you have a contract extension, any thoughts of buying it rescuing it, repurposing it, bringing it to the Twin Cities?
I always thought it was unique. I thought it was different, and removing it from the ballpark, but they removed it from the ballpark, but then they put it behind,
Right.
like on the outside, and when it's 3:05 p.m. because it's the 305 area code, they always like have it moving. So they found a purpose for it, but I would not buy it.
This is all Jeter's fault, isn't it? Didn't he do that?
It happened during Jeter was there, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was his goal, but
right.
it happened during his time there.
I wasn't sure. Maybe you had some inside info on that. Before you came to the Twins, the team's media guide mentioned the name Pablo 2 places. No one named Pablo has ever played for the Twins before. And one of the mentions of Pablo was that there was a Pablo Cruz concert in the 80s. This is a soft rock band.
At Target Field?
We'll find a way. At the Metrodome or somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So, you know that song?
No.
All right. Where the T-shirt Pablo Cruz, it's kind of got a sailboat on it. And no idea. Okay.
No idea. But I mean, I'll have to look into it.
All right. As someone who's been accepted to medical school, do you find yourself diagnosing teammate injuries? You're like, oh, that's a grade 2 or whatever.
I don't find myself doing that because I always hope that my teammates are able to remain healthy. But I do have some understanding. And I remember last year there was this instance where a farmer got hit in the face early in the season by a fastball. And the word that people used was laceration. So I had a couple teammates ask me, like, do you happen to know what that is? And I'm like, well, yeah, funny you ask. And then I would just give him a very simple, basic explanation of what a laceration could be.
You've been quoted as saying, I grew up in a house full of anatomy books and all that. So which human body part fascinates you the most?
That's a good question. I mean, we have so many complex joints and like areas of the body, but I mean, I always find the shoulder very fascinating. You know, there are so many different muscles, tendons, ligaments, and being a pitcher myself, I've been able to dive more into the different muscles and like the muscles that we use as pitchers to accelerate, and then the ones that you use to decelerate. And because I like to be very thorough in my routine, my strengthening, I try to make sure that every day when I'm doing exercises, I'm covering the entire shoulder area that involves the throwing.
Has that interest helped you be healthier as a player or get healthier in case something happens?
Well, I did run through some injuries early in my career. Thankfully, knock on wood, the last couple of years I've been able to stay healthy. But, I think just being interested in that kind of things, and also being through a couple hiccups down the road, health-wise, definitely gave me a different perspective of there's got to be a way. People have done it for a lot, right. For a long time. They've had long, successful careers by staying healthy, staying available. So, what's the best way to go about it? Every day you try to do a little something, but you can't do the same muscle group every single day. So, you want to make sure that you're hitting every single muscle group on different days. So then, everything stays strong, stays flexible, stays loose.
Spencer Strider has gotten a lot of attention in part because he has enormous quads. People make note of this, but it doesn't look like you skip leg day either. Is it a competition? I mean, is that an important part of your, not only your aesthetic, but how you pitch?
Yeah, I feel like I do get a lot of my power, my strength comes from my legs. I make sure that the day after I pitch, when I hit the weight room, everything is lower body, focused. There's a lot of legs, a lot of movements, and also you want to remain athletic. But I make sure that whether it's my running, whether it's my biking or my weightlifting, I know a lot of it comes from the legs. And I used to hear from older veterans or pitchers be the legs are what they're gonna get you through later in the season. Later in the season, if your arms starts feeling a little fatigued, you need the legs to be there for you to be that strong foundation.
Don't skip leg day would be your advice?
Yes, sir. Do not skip it.
after your start opening day, you were hooked up to an IV that had like a box or something at the end of it. I don't know. I tripped over it. I've seen things like that before, but what's going on there?
That is called a BFR machine, blood flow restriction is what BFR stands for. We use it a lot for recovery. There's different settings. There's the recovery settings, which is the one I was on that day, and then there's like the different settings for strengthening. So the whole idea behind it, when you use it for strengthening, it's like the thing has a lot of pressure on your arm, kind of like when you're getting your blood pressure taken. Mm-hmm. So that allows you to use, if you were to do an exercise using a 5-pound dumbbell, you would use a 2-pound dumbbell, same amount of reps, same amount of sets, but by using the less weight, it's less stress on your body, but because of the compression, you're getting the same amount of work. And then like when there's the recovery settings, like it's even tighter, and then you go through 5-minute cycles, and then just like when the cuff gets loose, then all the blood flow starts going to the area, and then like it's about like the whole recovery purpose.
Is this a newer treatment, a newer way of doing it, or?
Probably in the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Pitch clock. There's injury speculation about it, that going too fast between pitches maybe isn't good for you guys. Any reason to think this?
I mean, it does keep you. If you feel that it messes you in a conditioning level, then you have to be mindful that, it might get to you. So maybe just, if you feel it affects you, find different days in between starts to like work on your anaerobic capacity. Just make sure that, like, if it's 15 seconds, in those 15 seconds, you're able to get 2-3 deep breaths to make sure that, the muscles are relaxed, you gave them enough oxygen to then execute a pitch. I could see why. I mean, you might feel like 15 seconds, you might feel like it's not also long enough, so you might grab the ball and then get on the rubber right away. So I think there is something to it, but everyone's different. Depends how everyone's VO2 max, their capacity is, and if you feel like in a way you feel rushed, or like you find yourself being tired 10-15 pitches in, then you need to assess that and find different things that you could do to improve your capacity.
All right, Dave, quick little break here as we set up the second part of your video. But man, really great first part, and I look forward to breaking down the second part and the first part in our final segment of the show. But first, a word from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience are what bring home the winning trophy, and also what keep your ride alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the W. So keep your ride alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. And also, Gametime. If you're getting ready to go to the ball game today, or if you don't have tickets yet but want to take a look, go to Gametime. Download the Gametime app. They've got tickets for everything you can imagine under the sun or the stars, whether it's a ball game, a concert, a comedy show, you name it, they've got it. Check out your local market in the app and see what they have. You may not even know something's going on in your backyard, and they can get you in at the very best price. Last minute deals, you can save up to 60% by buying last minute for, like they say, sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Anything you need a ticket for, they've got you covered. All-in pricing, too. If you turn that feature on, it will tell you from the outset how much it's going to cost you. None of that bait and switch, none of those fees at the end that you are not prepared for. You get your seat view. It's a panoramic showing you what you'll be looking at, what you'll be looking for, and if you've got any sort of obstruction in your view, as long as you're not sitting behind Ed Too Tall Jones or anything like that. You got the lowest price guarantee as well. If you find a ticket in the same row and section elsewhere cheaper, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. It's a no-brainer. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Gametime app with code FIRSTPITCH. Terms do apply, but that's code FIRSTPITCH, FIRSTPITCH, for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th. So you got about 10 days left to get in on this. Download the Gametime app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Dave, we're going to dive right back into the second part of this Pablo interview. And then on the other side of it, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Guardians, and we'll get everybody amped, psyched, and jacked.
Very
and
good.
whatever else you want to talk about for opening day. But again, here's Pablo.
Human umpires can't hear us right now. Do you think that it's good that the game is going toward apparently computers calling balls and strikes? Is that something that will be better for the game once they get it down?
It's hard to tell, you know. The major MLB's been around for over 150 years now. There's always been the human element of the umpires. It's such a tough job, you know. Like, I mean, there's only a few umpires for a reason. They're the best at what they do. It's a very competitive, tough job, and you know, there's always gonna be faults here and there. Just like me as a pitcher, I make a few mistakes a game. Umpires are, you know, like they're allowed. They might do the same thing, but if we can find a way, kind of like what they're doing in the minor leagues, you know, you only get 3 a game to keep the human element of the game still like as it should be, then I think, yeah, I think it would be good as long as you keep it minimal, as long as you keep it, you know, efficient, you know, finding yourself that you're, you know, wasting time, and then it gives the players an opportunity to like put their money where their mouth is, you know, like if you feel that you have a better point than the umpire, then go ahead and challenge it and see how it goes.
The WBC is probably one of MLB's best ideas. Is there anything that you would do to maybe make it even better?
I don't know. It was so successful last year. I thought it was so cool. The only thing that I would say, but it's such a very hard subject, because it would be cool to have that experience while the players are built up all the way. You know, as a pitcher, it would be cool to be in that environment knowing that I could go 90, 100 pitches. The batters could, you know, play all the 4 or 5 games in a row, playing 9 innings. So if you start thinking about it, the best time to do it would be halfway through the season.
Yeah.
Then our season is so long with so many games, like it would throw a lot of things off. So if there could be a way to have it when the players are 100%, then you would be able to see more of, like, you know, like the sports, like superstars performing and being at a 100% level.
How much time do you spend thinking about everything going on in Venezuela and how things can be saved or just improved with the situation in the country?
Yeah, I mean, you know, every country has its, you know, not so good moments, not so good things going on. I have a lot of family back home, so I'm always, you know, in contact with them, see how they are, you know, like, all things considered, thankfully my family, you know, like, they're always good. They're always like, don't worry about us, worry about doing your thing. So like, it's so nice to have that support. But yeah, I mean, it's a reality that a lot of people back home, back in Venezuela, might be, you know, struggling a little bit here and there. I was able to go to Venezuela last December, and it was pretty cool that I was fortunate enough to be there when some baseball supplies I sent got there. So going to the field where I used to play when I was little and being able to provide baseball equipment that, you know, some kids, some parents might not be able to afford, you know, like, it gives you a different perspective. It gives you a much more appreciation for, like, you know, like, there's a lot of things going on down there, but if you can find the time or the means to, you know, help in any way, shape, or form, like, I want to take advantage of those things.
Is it nice to remind home that you're thinking about them sometimes?
100%. Yeah, you can't put a price on that.
Do few players speak English better than you do, and that includes like people born in North America.
I'm sorry?
There aren't very many players in the league who speak English, who communicate in English better than you do, including people from here. Where's the end of that question? So when and how the process did you start learning English?
Yeah, I started learning English when I was young. I used to, it used to be taught at my school. Then I went to a language institute where it was a little more, intense, more hardcore than the subject in school. So, I've always had a fascination for languages. I'm very interested in the origin of words, the meaning of words. So, I was hooked early on. So when I first came to the United States to play baseball, I already had a good foundation, a good base of English. Then it became a matter of like not being afraid, not being scared to start a conversation, interact. I didn't really know how to establish a conversation and keep it going. I didn't really know how, if a group of people were talking, how I could like involve myself in the conversation. So it's about losing that fear. And, as someone who I speak, a different language, I understand when another person is making the effort to speak my language. So when I started seeing it from that perspective, like I need to get over myself. Like I'm sure, like just for these people to see me making the effort to speak English, like there's not gonna be any judgment or anything. If anything, they're gonna help me get better. They're gonna help me, whether I mispronounce a word, they're gonna teach me the right way to say it. So it's a process of like knowing and understanding that there's no judgment. It's about getting better and letting people help you.
How excited do you get to learn new words?
I get so excited to learn new words.
Like, can you think of one recently? Like, oh, that's a great word. Like, I'm putting it in a spot. It's a tough question.
Indulgent?
Oh.
I learned that one.
What was the context? What was that about?
I don't know. I was reading a book and I ran into the word indulgent. And then when I think of indulging as being as forgiving, it makes me a good way to remember what it means.
Related to that, you reportedly speak 4? You're conversant in 4 languages?
I learned 4 at that
4.
language institute when I was little.
I see. Have you added any lately?
Having Kenta Maeda last year on the team with his translator and his massage therapist was really fun. I am one of our athletic trainers who's also Japanese, so like I said, I've always had a fascination for languages. So, every here and there I would ask them to teach me words, teach me sentences, and then it's just something cool to connect with people. So like if I ever have another Japanese speaking teammate, then it'll be like a cool way to break the ice with just like a very very Japanese sentence.
Can you swear in multiple languages?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know about a follow-up to that. So. What about German? So you can talk to Kepler.
No, German I know very few things. My brother, he studied abroad in Germany. Well, he went to learn German. So my brother does speak German. But no, I know maybe like a handful of words.
Right. What about like Italian with Rocco? So I don't know if he knows any Italian or not, but you guys can keep secrets.
Yeah, Italian is a Romance language, very similar to Spanish. There are words that are spelled the same, pronounced the same, so it's a language that I'm able to, memorize a few words.
French with Julian?
No, not French, never got into it.
But there's time. He's new, maybe you know.
Yeah, just a few words here and there. Good morning, goodbye, see you tomorrow, things like that.
One of the most impressive things about you and him are how you are able to communicate in English. Is that for a guy who's done some difficult things, play baseball, learn anatomy and pre-med and all that, was that the hardest thing that you've done with your head, learning new languages and learning how to speak to people in a different language?
Speaking several, even if it's just 2 or more languages, it's really impressive. Like you said, it's really putting your brain to you're really testing your brain to remember words, remembering the right order to put the words to make sense, to ask questions, to emphasize the right way to emphasize words. Like in English, there are words that are spelled a certain way, but then they're pronounced a certain way. So it's really cool. So when I see young Hispanics, like being gutsy enough to go out there and have a post-game interview with no interpreter, like, it makes me really proud. Eli De La Cruz a couple days ago had a good one where he mentioned that he wants to be able to communicate with the fans better. So when I see things like that, it makes me really proud. I think it's a very underrated skill, and so as much as it is great that teams are doing a great job at giving us the support system on an interpreter, a translator, but when I see the guys also being like, I want to learn because I want to connect with the fans, that makes me really proud as a Spanish-speaking player.
That's a great way to end. Thank you very much, Pablo.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
PrizePicks is North America's largest daily fantasy sports platform. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. So instead of battling thousands of other players, you can pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch your winnings roll in. And the app also has a fun new feature called Demons and Goblins. You can do demon picks, which are marked in red. They're a little scarier, but you can win big money, like 100 times your money on a bet. So if you bet $10, you bring in 1,000. But if you're more cautious like me, you play with a goblin pick marked in green because it's going to keep you in the green, keep you rolling in the green, and all that fun stuff. Payout is less than a demon pick, but again, keeps your chances of winning much, much better. So if you're into the NBA, you can pick more than or less than on everything from 3-pointers made to turnovers committed. And for baseball, pretty much any stat you can imagine. First inning runs, pitcher strikeouts, that sort of thing. Download the app today and enter code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase, and get that first deposit match up to $100. Join PrizePicks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I got an itchy trigger finger there, Dave. I cut off the last couple seconds of your interview, so I apologize.
Yeah, no snipping. That's all right. It was just a goodbye. It's fine.
And the Dos Equis commercials call the guy the most interesting man in the world or whatever. I feel like Pablo Lopez could be the most interesting guy in Major League Baseball.
He might be. He's a guy who could have been a contender, or he could have been a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That's what some of his family wanted him to do. His mom and dad were both in medicine, and his mom was a pathologist. And he's just an amazing conversationalist for any language. And somebody who knows that kind of that amount of languages and shows an interest in other cultures is going to be interesting to me. So there was an interview today on the Twins broadcast, and it was Pablo talking about kind of some of the things that he does in between starts, and he's down in the bullpen with Paddock, and he does that sometimes, and he's not there to like offer advice, but he is there to respond to any questions that guys have. He's a good teammate. He's a leader, by example and in other ways too. So I think that the Twins are better for having him around for a lot of reasons.
Good teams don't trade guys like that. They just don't. And anyway, Marlins are 0-7. I did like though that Pablo said when my pitchers need something, like he considers this a group effort, and I think that's just huge. Let's roll through the matchups for this series: Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. It's Pablo against Tanner Bybee, Joe Ryan against Carlos Carrasco, and Bailey Ober against Tristan McKenzie. Bybee's tough, but you like your chances with Pablo going, and you'd like to think the Twins would give Carlos Carrasco all he can handle, but hard to say. But the offense, has sputtered. Still, though, I think the Twins are in a pretty good spot to potentially win 2 of 3 here.
Well, I don't know if Kirilloff could be any hotter going into the series after getting on base 5 times against the Brewers, but the Twins don't have a lot of experience against Bybee. I think Correa and Kepler have like maybe 8 at bats, and Buxton 1. So it's not like the lineup up and down has a lot of personal knowledge of how Bybee works. So we'll see what happens. And Carrasco, that could be an emotional thing for him coming back to Cleveland after a few years gone. So we'll see how the Twins deal with that, and hopefully they continue to be patient and hit some balls in the air and maybe get some home runs too.
Yeah, and I'm eager to see what a continued breakout looks like offensively with their I feel like one thing that they didn't do as much last year that they've done twice now this year is tack on runs late.
Yeah.
And that was an Achilles heel thing last year. Again, we saw it in the second game of the Royal Series. We saw it in the finale of the Brewers series. It's hard to get to modern bullpens, and especially true with the Brewers, although without Devin Williams, they're still pretty good back there. But you don't see a lot of teams blitz bullpens as much because it's one inning guys throwing 98 and striking out a guy per inning. So I've been encouraged by that. I've been encouraged by, in general, the plate appearances. And I think they've hit the ball fairly hard. Like Carlos Correa does not have much to show for hitting the ball hard. And I think a few other guys have that that trajectory that's going in the right direction for finding results sooner rather than later.
And it's interesting to play another AL Central team. The Royals kind of gave the Twins not everything they could handle, but mostly. It was a very competitive series, and I expect even more so out of Cleveland this weekend. So, let's not, for the Twins' sake, give the Guardians any ideas about who should be favored in the division race, and let them get an upper hand on them. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world if, no matter what happens in this series, if it's bad, but it would be nice to get off to a good start against Cleveland.
Well, Dave, it's game day. Get your face paint on, get excited. We'll be back with some post-game analysis, probably late in the evening on our usual time slot. But hey, for a bonus episode, this was great. Love hearing from Pablo, and good. I was glad to see you get out to Kaufman Stadium and do some answer man stuff. We love to see it. So, Dave, thank you so much. And we will, again, be back a little bit later after the opener, hopefully a W, to break it down. For Dave Brown, this is Brandon Warren signing off, saying thank you so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Twins, and we'll see you a little later tonight.